The snow did not fall gently. It attacked. It came sideways in the wind, slicing across the valley like white knives, burying tents, swallowing footprints, and freezing breath before it could fade into the air. Somewhere beyond the blizzard, the Rhine River groaned under forming ice. Somewhere even farther, unseen Germanic tribes watched and waited, knowing something the Roman legionnaires were just beginning to understand. Winter was not an inconvenience. Winter was an enemy. And tonight, winter was winning. Inside a leather tent stiff as wood from the cold, a young recruit named Lucius trembled so violently his teeth sounded like dice rattling in a cup. He had marched from warm Italia believing Rome conquered the world through discipline, steel, and courage. No one had warned him about this. About the way the cold slid through wool, through leather, through bone, until it reached the marrow. About how your fingers stopped listening to your mind. About how the night seemed endless because the darkness felt heavier than the sky. Across from him, a veteran centurion named Gaius did something unexpected. He smiled. "Good," Gaius muttered, wrapping his cloak tighter. "Let it snow." Lucius stared at him in disbelief. "Good? We're freezing to death." Gaius shook his head. "No, boy. We're about to do what Romans do best." He reached for a wooden mallet. Survive better than anyone else on earth. Most people imagine Roman legions winning through glorious charges and clashing shields. But historians now know a quieter truth. Rome's greatest victories often happened in the cold, long before any battle began. Because while their enemies dreaded winter, Roman legionnaires prepared for it like engineers preparing for a siege. The first hack began before the snow even touched the ground. Outside the tent, orders rang through the storm. Dig! Hundreds of legionnaires poured out into the freezing night, grabbing tools from their packs. Not swords, not spears, shovels. Within minutes, they began digging trenches around the camp's perimeter. Not for defense against men, but against wind. These trenches broke the gusts, forcing the air to rise instead of blast straight through the tents. Then came something stranger. They started piling snow. Lucius watched in confusion as soldiers stacked snow into thick walls around the tents. "Why are we burying ourselves?" he shouted. Gaius laughed. "Because snow is warmer than air." It sounded absurd, but modern science confirms what Romans had learned by experience. Packed snow traps air pockets, creating insulation. The snow walls blocked the cutting wind and kept the camp several degrees warmer than the open valley. To enemies watching from the trees, it looked like the Romans were being swallowed by the storm. In reality, they were building a fortress of warmth. Then Gaius ordered something Lucius would never forget. Dig under the tent. Lucius thought he misheard. Under it? Yes, 2 feet down. Beneath every Roman tent, the soldiers dug shallow pits and lined them with branches, grass, and spare cloaks. Then they laid their bedrolls on top. This wasn't random. Frozen ground sucks heat from the human body faster than cold air. By creating an insulating layer of organic material and airspace, the Romans stopped the earth from stealing their warmth. Modern campers call this ground insulation. The Romans called it common sense. Lucius crawled into the tent later and realized something shocking. It was almost comfortable. Most armies would build massive fires. The Romans didn't. Fires gave away position. Fires consumed precious wood. Fires could burn tents. Instead, Gaius walked to a pit outside where stones were glowing red inside a small, controlled fire. Using tongs, soldiers wrapped the hot stones in cloth and carried them into tents. Lucius recoiled. "Are you bringing rocks to bed?" "Warm rocks," Gaius corrected. The stones radiated heat for hours, turning each tent into a slow-cooking oven without smoke, flame, or danger. They placed them near feet and under CLOAKS. It was the ancient Roman version of a space heater. By midnight, Lucius had stopped shivering. Lucius thought the thick wool cloak he wore was for marching. He was wrong. Gaius showed him how to sleep inside it properly, not draped, but wrapped completely, tucking the edges under the body to trap air. The cloak became a personal thermal chamber. Then came the most surprising order of the night: sleep in pairs. Lucius blinked. What? Body heat. Faster than any fire. 2 Legionnaires slept back to back, sharing warmth through their cloaks. Pride vanished. Survival mattered more. This was not weakness. This was Roman practicality. Before sleep, Gaius handed Lucius a lump of something hard and greasy. Eat. Lucius sniffed it. What is this? Fat. Specifically, salted pork fat mixed with grain. Romans understood that fat burns slowly in the body, generating internal heat for hours. This wasn't comfort food. This was fuel against winter. They drank warm Posca water mixed with vinegar and herbs, which helped circulation and prevented freezing from. Inside, Lucius felt warmth spreading through him that had nothing to do with the stones. Outside, the blizzard howled. Inside the Roman camp, something remarkable happened. No one panicked. No one complained. No one froze, because this was not their first winter, and the Romans had turned survival into routine. Gaius lay awake, listening to the storm, not worried. Because he knew something their enemies did not. By morning, the tribes watching from the forest would be exhausted, sleepless, half-frozen. The Romans would wake rested. Warm. Ready. Winter did not weaken Rome. Winter weakened Rome's enemies. And that, Gaius knew, was the real secret. As Lucius drifted into the warmest sleep he'd had since leaving Italy, he realized something that no training manual had ever mentioned. Rome didn't conquer the world because its soldiers were fearless. Rome conquered the world because its soldiers knew how to outlast the world. And tonight, buried in snow, warmed by rocks, wrapped in cloaks, and sleeping beside another man for heat, Lucius finally understood. The Roman legion's greatest weapon was not the sword. It was survival. Lucius woke before the horn sounded, not because he was cold, because he was warm. For a moment, he forgot where he was. The tent felt still, quiet. The violent screaming of the storm had faded into a distant whisper. He expected numb fingers, aching joints, the misery he had fallen asleep with. Instead, he felt rested. Across from him, Gaius was already awake, calmly tightening the straps on his sandals. Up, the centurion said. Best part of winter is the morning after. Lucius crawled outside and stopped in disbelief. The Roman camp was no longer a collection of tents. It looked like a snow fortress, every tent half buried in white. Snow walls sculpted by the wind into smooth barriers. Trenches now frozen into solid ridges. The camp looked as if it had grown naturally out of the blizzard, part of the landscape itself. And the Legionnaires? They moved like it was any ordinary morning, laughing, stretching, cooking. No frostbite, no chaos, no desperation. Beyond the snow walls, however, the forest told a different story. Scattered footprints, signs of fires hastily abandoned, broken branches where men had struggled through the night. The tribes had tried to endure the storm. The Romans had prepared for it. By mid-morning, orders came down the line. They were moving. Lucius stared at the knee-deep snow ahead. We're marching in this? Gaius grinned. Of course. This is when we move fastest. That made no sense. Until Lucius saw what the Legionnaires did next. They took out wide wooden boards from their packs, something he had thought were just parts of the tent equipment. The soldiers tied them under their sandals, primitive snowshoes. While their enemies sank into the drifts with every step, Roman legionnaires walked across the surface with surprising ease. Not perfectly, not gracefully, but efficiently. The boards distributed their weight just enough to prevent deep sinking. Rome had not invented snowshoes, but they had copied the idea from northern tribes long ago and made it standard winter gear. Romans did not let pride stop them from learning. Before marching, Gaius did something Lucius found revolting. He smeared animal fat on his feet. "Do it," Gaius ordered. Lucius obeyed reluctantly. The grease served two purposes. It repelled moisture from melting snow and prevented skin from cracking in extreme cold. Wet feet freeze. Cracked skin leads to infection. Infection kills more soldiers than swords. Roman survival was not heroic. It was methodical. As they marched, Lucius noticed something else, strange. No one shivered, not because they were immune to cold, but because of the way they walked. Short steps, steady pace, no rushing. Gaius explained, "If you sweat, you die." Sweat inside winter clothing turns into freezing moisture. Romans were trained to march in a way that kept body heat steady without overheating. Even their marching rhythm was designed for winter endurance. They were, in effect, moving campfires. At noon, they stopped, not to rest, but to build something. Within minutes, a squad began constructing a small clay dome from mud dug beneath the snow and mixed with straw from supply sacks. Lucius blinked. "We're building an oven?" Yes, a Roman field oven. While enemies struggled to keep fires alive in the wind, the Romans built windproof ovens that trapped heat. Inside, they baked flatbread and warmed rations. Hot food in winter is not a luxury. It restores morale, energy, and circulation. The oven would be destroyed before they left, leaving nothing useful for enemies behind. Romans did not just carry food, they carried the ability to cook anywhere. Lucius had always thought his uniform was simple. Tunic, armor, cloak. Gaius corrected him. 3 layers, always. 1. Linen tunic to absorb moisture. 2. Wool layer to trap heat. 3. Cloak to block wind. If the inner layer got damp. They changed it immediately from supplies and waterproof leather. Sacks. Romans understood moisture was the true killer in winter. Modern winter survival manuals teach the exact same principle. Historians often ask why Roman legions could campaign in brutal climates for months, while other armies collapsed. The answer wasn't toughness. It was logistics. Each soldier carried tools, spare clothing, food, tent parts, cooking gear, and engineering equipment. Heavy loads, yes, but it meant they depended on no one. They could create warmth from nothing. They did not wait for rescue. They built survival. As they resumed marching, Lucius noticed the men joking. Singing. Laughing about the storm. Gaius leaned over. "You know why?" Lucius shook his head. "Because winter is worse when you think about it." Roman discipline included something rarely mentioned: controlling morale through routine. The same marching songs, the same meal rituals, the same camp-building procedures. Predictability made the cold feel less terrifying. Winter became just another task, and Romans were masters of tasks. Late in the afternoon, they reached a ridge overlooking the forest. Smoke rose weakly from below. The tribe that had watched them the night before had not fared well. Some fires were still burning. Others had gone out. Figures moved slowly, wrapped in furs, clearly exhausted. Gaius studied them calmly. "They won't fight today," he said. "How do you know?" "They didn't sleep." Lucius understood. The Romans had as the legion began building another snow-protected camp on the ridge. Lucius felt something new. Confidence. Not in his sword arm. In the system. He realized something profound. Winter was no longer frightening, because now he knew that tricks. The hacks. The quiet knowledge. Passed from veteran to recruit for centuries. Knowledge that never appeared in glorious battle stories. But without it, there would be no battles to win. That night, as hot stones warmed the tent again, and Lucius wrapped himself in his cloak beside another soldier, he asked Gaius a question. "Centurion, who taught Rome all this?" Gaius smiled in the dim glow. "Winter did." By the third morning, Lucius no longer feared the cold. He respected it. That was the difference. Gaius had been trying to teach him all along. Fear makes men careless. Respect makes them careful, and careful men survive winters. The horn sounded before sunrise. The sky was still iron gray, the air so sharp it felt like glass in the lungs. Yet the legion moved with calm precision, dismantling the snow-wrapped camp, as if they were packing up after a summer picnic. No rush, no complaints, no frozen fingers fumbling with straps, because now Lucius understood something he hadn't before. Every action had been practiced 1,000 times before this storm ever began. Nothing they were doing was an improvisation. This was inherited knowledge, refined over centuries of campaigns in Gaul, Germania, Britannia, and the frozen edges of the empire. Rome did not learn from winter. Rome collected winter lessons. Before marching, Gaius inspected every man. Not weapons. Socks. If even slightly damp, they were replaced. If supplies ran low, spare cloth from tent linings was cut into foot wraps. Wet feet are dead feet, Gaius reminded them. Lucius had seen frostbite victims once during training. Blackened toes. Men sent home, never to march again. The Romans prevented frostbite, not through miracle cures, but by obsessive dryness. This habit alone saved thousands of soldiers over generations. As they moved through an open plain blasted by wind, Lucius noticed something clever. The front line of soldiers raised their large rectangular shields, not for enemies, but angled slightly downward against the wind. The men behind walked in the calmer air pocket created by the shields. Then they rotated positions. Everyone took turns being the windbreak. A marching formation turned into a moving wall against nature. Near midday, scouts returned with news. The tribe from the forest had decided to attack. Not boldly. Desperately. They emerged from the tree line looking exhausted. Movement slow. Formation loose. Faces cracked from cold. Some without proper footwear. Many clearly sleep-deprived. Lucius felt the tension rise in his chest. Gaius did not form line. The centurion ordered calmly. The Romans locked shields. Feet steady. Breathing controlled. They had slept. They had eaten hot food. They had marched without draining themselves. Tribe had done the opposite. The battle was short, not because Romans were stronger fighters, because they were warmer fighters. Men who are warm think clearly. Men who are freezing make mistakes. The enemy line broke within minutes. Some fled. Others surrendered. A few collapsed from exhaustion before swords even reached them. Lucius stood there afterward, stunned. He had imagined glorious combat deciding victory. Instead, winter had already decided it last night. Most ancient armies stopped fighting in winter. They retreated, waited for spring, and hoped enemies did the same. Rome did not. Rome advanced in winter because they knew something powerful. If you can move when your enemy cannot, you control the world. Winter gave Rome strategic mobility that others lacked. Forts were taken when least defended. Tribes were surprised when least prepared. Rebellions were crushed when morale was lowest. Winter was not a pause in Roman warfare. It was an advantage. That night, after the battle, Lucius sat beside Gaius as hot stones warmed the tent once more. I thought the legion's power was discipline. Lucius said. Gaius shook his head. Discipline is part of it. But the real power is this. He tapped the ground. Preparation for things that haven't happened yet. Lucius listened carefully. Most men react to winter when it arrives. Romans prepare for it in summer. They dried extra socks months in advance. They repaired cloaks before they tore. They packed tools they hoped never to use. They assumed winter would come. And planned. Accordingly. No grand historian wrote about snow trenches. No poet praised hot stones in tents. No monument in Rome celebrated Greece on soldiers' feet. Yet without these small, unglamorous survival hacks, legions would have frozen, starved, and failed long before reaching any battlefield worth recording. The quiet truth was this. Rome's empire was built not only by generals and battles, but by ordinary soldiers who knew how to sleep warm in a snowstorm. As Lucius lay down that night, wrapped in his cloak beside another soldier, warm stones glowing faintly near his feet, he smiled, not because he loved winter, but because winter no longer had power over him. He had learned Rome's real secret. Legionnaires' greatest weapon was not courage. Not strength. Not even steel. It was knowledge, passed from one cold night to another for hundreds of years. Knowledge that said, the world may freeze, but Romans will not. And somewhere beyond the ridge, in forests buried under snow, tribes whispered a truth they had come to fear. You could fight a Romang in summer. You could ambush a Romang in autumn. But if the Romans came in winter, you had already lost.